Thank you for joining us live on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman. Earlier today, the UN's International Court of Justice ruled that Israel must take measures to prevent genocide in Gaza. But the court stopped short of ordering an immediate ceasefire in Israel's war with Hamas. 13 News White House correspondent John Decker joins us live from Washington, D.C. with today's political headlines. John, the question is, how did Israel and the White House react to this UN court ruling?
Very similarly, Mary, really no daylight between the positions of the U.S. government and the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The U.S. maintains now is not the time for a permanent ceasefire. The U.S. is for humanitarian pauses, and we've seen before that these humanitarian pauses have been successful in terms of getting over 100 hostages released by the terrorist group Hamas and back into Israel's sovereign territory. That's what the U.S. is pushing for. The U.S. also making it clear they have seen no evidence of genocide on the part of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces.
And in political news, there's already speculation about who Donald Trump will choose as his running mate. Who appears to be on the short list, and is there any chance that Trump will choose Nikki Haley, who's not giving up her quest to be the Republican presidential nominee?
Well, Mary, there's been no statement put out, no official shortlist put out, but there's certainly a lot of speculation about some names who could be on the shortlist for Donald Trump if he indeed is the Republican nominee. One of those names, Kristi Noem. She is the Republican governor from South Dakota, formerly served as a congresswoman here in Washington, is very loyal to Donald Trump, endorsed his candidacy. And another name is Elise Stefanik. She's a part of the Republican House leadership. She's a congresswoman representing a district in New York State. She's the first member of Congress to actually endorse Donald Trump in this election run for the 2024 election cycle. Let me give you one wild card. That's Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump, if he's successful, wins the White House, he can't run for another term. What better way to extend his legacy by putting his son, Donald Trump Jr., on the ticket? That's just a long shot, but I want to put that out there. As far as Nikki Haley is concerned, I think there's just so much bad blood right now between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump. I don't see her being on the short list to be Donald Trump's running mate.
Yeah, lots of eyes on that. And in legal news, a federal jury in New York has begun jury deliberations concerning E. Jean Carroll's request for damages from Donald Trump for his defamatory statements. John, you're a lawyer. What's at stake for the former president here?
Well, within the past few hours, we learned that the jury has come back with a verdict in that defamation trial, that civil defamation trial in New York. And it's a pretty pricey damage that the jury has returned with at this federal jury level. What's the number? It's $83.3 million. That includes $65 million in punitive damages against the former president, $18.3 million in compensatory damages. Donald Trump putting out a statement saying he disagrees with this verdict, says that he will appeal it. On appeal, if he's successful on appeal, I don't think it's going to wipe away this jury verdict. If anything, if he's successful, it would just lower the amount of damages that he would have to pay to the writer E. Jean Carroll for defaming her on several occasions while he was president of the United States.
And finally, John, any progress to report on a Senate deal that would significantly change U.S. immigration policy and also provide more military assistance to Israel and Ukraine?
Mary, there seems to be an impasse today. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, sent a letter over to the Senate indicating that if what is being discussed in terms of policy changes for immigration law is actually correct in terms of negotiations, that legislation, if it comes over to the House, according to the Speaker, would be dead on arrival. And so as things stand today, no movement on that type of legislation. President Biden, just within the past 10 minutes, put out a statement really urging the two sides to come together to find a compromise that would provide not only these major changes in U.S. immigration law, which would prevent the huge numbers of migrants coming to the U.S.-Mexico border, but would also provide additional funding for Ukraine. We'll have to wait and see what happens. The next step, if there is some success or movement, would be announcement of a framework for a deal, but we're not there just yet.
John Decker, live from Washington, D.C. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good weekend. Well, our Dan Maries and Brooke Wagner will bring you all of the day's local headlines and weather on 13 News live at 6. I'm Mary Coleman. Thank you for joining us live on 13 Plus.